This is Enthusia Professional Racing, a simcade racing game released exclusively for the PlayStation 2 in 2005 by Konami. And at first glance, besides this being often called a Gran Turismo clone, it does not look all too special, let alone be a game fit for speedrunning. Sure, it may have some pretty good physics for the time, together with a good car roster and an awesome soundtrack, but it remained as yet another obscure racing game from the mid-2000s, and unlike most franchises from Konami, this one hasn't been turned into a pachinko machine yet. But when a set of retro achievements were added, they also came with a speedrun timer, and after a bit of theory crafting, we quickly found out just how well this game lends itself to speedrunning. This is the story of how we accidentally discovered a speedrunnable racing game from over 20 years ago. We start the story in the middle of January 2026, where I approached Azulia, a friend of the channel, about the added speedrun timer, as he was the first to mention it to me, and the first prospect of speedrunning this game. At the time, if you would go to speedrun.com and look up runs for Enthusia Professional Racing, you would find nothing. At least for the Any% and Driving Revolution categories, although there were some entries for the so-called Rank 1 category, so you could technically call this a rediscovery, but once again, the main category had no entries at this point. But you might already have a few questions, like how does one even beat Enthusia? Or why the hell do I keep seeing this mom van in the background? Or even, what did Casanori... Why the f did I include this? So to start out, Enthusia's main career mode is all about racing through the ranks by completing races for which the track and opponents are almost always randomly selected, thus creating a very unique take on a racing game career mode where no playthrough is truly the same. And for an Any% speedrun, your goal is to win the final event of the year, a 2-lap race around the infamous Nürburgring Nordschleife that's aptly called the King of the Year Grand Prix. Enthusia's event calendar has 4 races each month where it lets you select from a pool of the aforementioned randomly generated events, though this one singular race is among a small pool of events that's guaranteed to appear, and is also what gets you to the end credits. To get to this point, however, you must rank in the top 6 by the time this race rolls around. This is determined by your race performance over the past 12 weeks, where your 9 best results are added up to determine your ranking. But how does the game even determine your race performance? Well, that's where the first big part of the speedrun comes in. Enthusia is a game that actively rewards drivers for taking on tougher challenges, as each race you do has a certain number attached to them, which are your winning odds. An odds number of 3 means it's completely equal, like a one-make race, and anything higher is the game's way of telling you that your vehicle has a performance disadvantage. These odds then play a big role in progressing through the game, as these serve as a multiplier to the base score you will get from a race. This, together with your finishing position, is what determines how many rating points you get, which is what you need to rise through the ranks. You start out in RN, the Novice League, and as your rank improves, you unlock leagues from R4 all the way up to RS, with higher leagues having longer races with generally tougher lineups and faster opponents, which is then compensated for by having increasingly higher base scores. So as a quick example, a race in the R2 League with an odds ratio of 10 would give you 600 points if you finished in second place. Sounds simple enough, right? Just drive fast, get some strong finishes, and work your way up to qualify for King of the Year. The sharp viewers among you may have also already figured out that, because only the best 9 results out of the last 12 weeks count, we always skip towards the latter half of the year in an Any% speedrun, though the exact timing of this has changed over time. Keep that in mind as this will become very important later on. But that still leaves us with one important aspect I haven't talked about yet, because in order to win that King of the Year race, you're gonna need a faster car, because as much as I love the Suzuki Cappuccino, it won't stand a chance against a tuned 4GT. This then perfectly leads us to one of the main deciding factors that determines whether you'll even complete your run at all. And that all has to do with what happens after you finish a race. That's right, baby. It's gambling time! Gold, 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 gold! When you finish a race in a position that grants you rating points, you will also receive a prize car raffle. This gives you the chance to get any of your opponent's cars that you don't have in your collection yet. This further incentivizes you to enter more difficult races, as this gives you more opportunities to get a car that could win at King of the Year. However, in what we can now truly call a certified Konami moment, you will literally have to gamble for either getting the prize car you want. Yes! That is a win. That is a win right there. Or something you don't want. Of course, we're getting Tuareg. The curse of Tuareg. Or worse, you might even leave the event empty-handed. Like in this case, where I managed to successfully fend off a Ford GT in a Honda Beat, only to be greeted by this. Come on, that insane win should grab me at least something cool. Come on, game. I did all of that. I held a Ford GT behind me in a fucking Beat. And this is how you reward me? This? So all of this then makes for an interesting combination of driving skill, luck, and just the right amount of game knowledge required, which makes for a surprisingly fun but challenging racing game for speedrunning. Emulator usage is also allowed for this game on speedrun.com, and of course, Retro Achievements only works with an emulator, thus lowering the bar of entry to give this a try. I'll leave a link to a setup document, as well as a set of tips for speedrunning this game, in the description. Azulia, the one I initially shared this idea with, was the first one to try and put a time down on the leaderboard. I remember chilling with him and a couple of others in a voice chat watching his first try, but once the King of the Year rolled around, it suddenly became this incredibly intense race as he was quite far behind the lead. He did manage to catch back up a bit thanks to some proper speedrunning lines, but would still be just short of victory as he didn't catch up enough by the back straight. That was until we all agreed that the one thing left to do was something we like to dedicate to a certain Timo Shida. I only have this janky screen cap since this was just a run for the Retro Achievements leaderboard, but it's certainly more than enough to capture this completely ridiculous end to the run.
Timo, schieb ihn raus!
Timo, schieb ihn raus!
Schieb ihn raus!
No.
Come
Oh
on.
my God.
Oh no! Come on! You got this!
Come on. No! Push it, push it!
Push it! Yes!
Oh, let's see what happens.
The clutch! The clutch of the century!
Now we get to see what happens.
Oh, that was such a clutch.
Does it count?
Well, we're gonna see on the timer in a moment. Oh, please, please count.
I see end roll, it counted.
You counted, no way! 80% speedrun, you got it! The first one to post the time. World record! Yeah!
This left him with a time of 2 hours, 27 minutes and 17 seconds, which sounds reasonably fast when compared to a Gran Turismo 4 speedrun because those are at least 8 hours. This record would rapidly improve over time as after this run, Azulia became completely and utterly addicted to speedrunning this game. Over the next few weeks, Azulia decided to grind away at this game, gradually improving his results by getting better at the game, taking increasingly riskier routes, and sometimes just getting very lucky.
Oh my god! Let's go! Give me the Ford GT right now!
It didn't take more than a few days for the time to dip under the 2-hour mark, and from that point on, the record would continue to fall quickly, from first going to just over 1.5 hours to eventually posting a run that only took 1 hour and 17 minutes. Although we first started with the Retro Achievements leaderboards, these records would eventually also find their way onto speedrun.com, which from this point on will also be what I'll mainly be talking about. He also found the first simple but effective time-saving technique of pressing start right when the race has loaded, which skips the intro animation and saves a few seconds per race. Now, while he was doing these runs, I was busy working on the video, but seeing him do so many of these runs actually got me excited to give this a try myself. So as soon as I was done and Azulia's addiction loop was partially broken by another game, I decided it was my turn to start my Enthusia speedrunning journey. And to show what an average run first looked like, I'll use my first one as an example. Now, a big part of how the speedrun goes is determined by your starter car choice. Enthusia provides you with 12 very distinct cars to start out with, like your average commuters, K cars, and even a few classic ones. But at the time, our main and only starter car of choice was a literal mom van. Meet the Toyota Estima Hybrid, an all-wheel drive, hybrid-powered, CVT gearbox minivan. It may not look like it, and you may not like it, but this is what peak Enthusia performance looks like. Don't let its large and bulky appearance fool you. This thing makes an estimated 188 brake horsepower from its combined 2.4-liter inline-4 engine and hybrid motor. And since it's also the only all-wheel drive starter car in the game, it can get off the starting line much faster than any other starter car. It also seems like the game sees its high weight as much more of a disadvantage than it actually is, giving it some very high odds, which is vital to rise through those ranks quickly. But that's not all, as its CVT gearbox also allows for zero acceleration downtime from shifting gears, which therefore also makes this car remarkably beginner friendly. And since its top speed is set very high, the Estima will first top out based on the fact that it is only slightly more aerodynamic than a brick. To top this all off, Enthusia also allows you to tune your cars, where you can adjust the suspension, differential, and gearbox in various ways. And in this department, we found some discoveries that will make pretty much every car go faster. For example, lowering your car pretty much always improves its general handling characteristics. And since most road cars come with an open differential, locking it at least halfway significantly increases the stability and drivability of them. The Estima can also, somehow, still get its gear shortened, which gives the car a tiny speed boost. There are more tuning quirks we found over time, some of which I'll also mention later, but if you're already curious, we have made a document explaining all the tuning setup recommendations, which I'll leave a link for in the description and can even be useful for a normal playthrough. So with all of this in mind, when I started doing runs for Enthusia, the overall plan was simple. Set up the car, complete the tutorial race, skip to September, get through the ranks to reach the top 6 as fast as possible, switch to your fastest car, pray you don't get any really fast opponents in King of the Year, and win the race. And in my first attempt, despite getting a decent King of the Year contender after only 2 races, I wasn't getting any particularly good odds, so it took me a few races to get through R4 and R3. However, at least this gave me a slightly easier time into the later races, because there is one more thing I need to talk about: Enthusia's level system. If you've played this game before, you may know about this points bar in the bottom left corner during the race. This is your Enthu point bar, which is essentially the game's way of forcing you to drive cleanly. Going off track or hitting cars and walls will make you lose these points, and once it runs out, you will get a 1-week race ban. While this can be frustrating in a normal playthrough,
I hate this f***ing system so much.
A speedrun actually turns these points into a more tactical decision. Sometimes you just want to drive like a lunatic to ensure victory at all costs, while in other moments you do want to be as careful as possible. The loss in Enthu points then directly affects how many experience points you get, together with bonus points for disabling the assists, which don't seem to do much anyway, driving in manual, and getting the fastest lap. These are awarded to both yourself and the car you are driving, with the former giving a larger Enthu point pool, and the latter providing you with some all-important car upgrades. Every car has 9 upgrades equally divided between weight, tires, and power, and you get one of each in that particular order. These upgrades noticeably impact your car's performance. For example, the Estima becomes multiple seconds faster per lap when upgraded, having significantly better acceleration and handling. And this is where the Estima's final ace up its sleeve comes into play, as not all power and weight upgrades are created equal. The type of engine impacts how effective the power upgrades will be, and the strongest upgrades are given to those with hybrid engines. The same goes for weight reductions, with them generally being more impactful for heavier cars. And since the Estima is the only starter car with a hybrid engine and is also the heaviest starter car in the game, it has yet another advantage over the rest. Anyway, in my first attempt, I also encountered my first truly difficult races, as I had to defend my position against various Japanese sports cars. I did manage to get a steady amount of points from these, but more importantly, I also got a Honda NSX, arguably one of the fastest JDM sports cars in the entire game. So by the time December rolled around, I was ready to become the King of the Year in a very solid contender. Now, all that needed to happen was for no supercars to appear. Oh god, that's a 4GT. Ugh, oh no. Oh no, that could be bad. Yeah, you can guess how this ended. Oh my god, he's already P1. What the hell? Oh no, he's already P1. Oh my god, he's actually free already. Oh, that's bad. I think this is GG. I think this is GG, unfortunately. I think there's no way for me to catch back up here. I'm already 3 seconds behind. So my first attempt was a failure and shows the one true breaking point of this run. If you can't win the final race, it's essentially game over unless you made a save in the week before King of the Year, which obviously gives you a time loss. This can be frustrating for some, but in my opinion, this is actually what makes a speedrun even more interesting, and other speedruns are also known to have certain breaking points. My next 2 runs went a lot better, although the second one was ruined by not getting any good cars at first. This is useless game! Godverdomme. Then when I finally got something decent, one small mistake on my end was all that needed to spell the end for my King of the Year win chances. Oh my god, no. Wow, okay. That is plain bullshit. Yeah, it's just revving away, man. Come on. This run is completely and utterly dead. But in the third attempt, despite getting the exact same car in the Nissan Stagea, I finally broke through and made it to the end. And thanks to some pretty good odds throughout the earlier stages, I was able to pull through and beat Azulia's time by 40 seconds, setting a new world record of 1 hour, 16 minutes and 24 seconds. This is it, guys, come on! This is it! This is it! This is it! Oh my god! There's no way. There's no way. Come on, skip. Skip for auto achievements. Skip for auto achievements. End roll. Gimme. Yes! Yes, fuck yes! Fuck yeah, man, that's world record right there. Holy. Which he then beat only 12 hours later.
Oh, no, I'll break into the corner again. There it is.
Aw, dang it. Regardless, at this point we were making some steady progress in finding other things too. Before I started my runs, Azulia and I went through the tuning menu a few times to see if we could gain some more time with better car setups. I already mentioned the ride height, gearbox and differential before, but the other suspension settings also have an impact, in particular on rear-wheel drive cars. One of the biggest complaints by people who played and reviewed this game in the past is that rear-wheel drive cars can sometimes be unreasonably hard to drive. But lucky for us, Enthusia is somewhat realistic when it comes to tuning, as something as simple as increasing the stiffness of the front springs and dampers can make a lot of these cars significantly more controllable. This makes fast but formerly unviable cars for King of the Year like the Tomikaira ZCS much more drivable, and we even found a few more extreme measures you can take if the car is still too hard for you to control. None of this helped for the Shelby Cobra though, that car is just completely unsavable. But one other car in particular wasn't really willing to comply. The Honda Beat out of all cars had this very strange inner wheel lifting issue when upgraded, causing it to collapse on itself and violently oversteer. If you have a bit of an understanding of physics or car setups, the logical step is to reduce body roll by stiffening the springs and dampers, as we do not have access to anti-roll bars here. And rather surprisingly, it actually worked.
That actually fixed it. Setting the springs to maximum strength actually fixed it. What? Huh? It works.
This not only fixed the problem, but also gave the car an unreal amount of stability and responsiveness. And since this car also happens to get some really strong odds, I decided to give this car a try for an any percent playthrough. And despite the huge power deficit compared to the mighty Estima, it actually worked pretty well. I wasn't getting the best races, and I also had some of the worst price car luck possible, but this was at least a proof of concept that this is a speedrun viable car, as it is ridiculously good at carrying its momentum around the corner. However, this was actually not my main idea with this car, as instead I wanted to use this for a different speedrun. If you remember what I said earlier, aside from the individual time trials, Enthusia has two more main speedrun categories, Rank 1 and Driving Revolution. The latter of these is one I will just say, don't. It's fun but challenging to go through for a normal playthrough, but this really isn't all that fun for a speedrun unless you want to attempt an hour-long perfect run of this mode, even though two absolute madmen actually did post a time for this category now. Keep this name in mind for later, by the way, as he'll become very important to the story very soon. Either way, Rank 1 is what I would recommend new speedrunners to start out with, as its premise is incredibly simple. Reach rank 1 in the in-game ranking leaderboards as fast as possible. This speedrun category was the only category with leaderboard times before Azulia and I started our runs, dating as far back as September of 2022 on speedrun.com. But the real benchmark time was set in July of 2024 by Nexus, who used another car that has not been mentioned yet, the Mitsubishi EK Wagon. And despite this car getting some ludicrously high odds, this car is a complete and utter piece of garbage.
In the bin!
First of all, it is the weakest starter car in the game with only 50 horsepower, which isn't necessarily a bad thing as it's also a small and relatively light car, but despite this, it somehow manages to constantly spin its wheels out of corners, even when tuned. Whether that's due to it being a front-wheel drive car, having horrible base tires, or anything else, is something we have yet to truly figure out. What's worse is that even when maxed out, this car is hilariously slow when going uphill, making it incredibly difficult, if not completely unviable, to use in most R1 and definitely all RS races. But the worst of the worst comes from its gearbox. If you look on Wikipedia, you will find that it either comes with a 5-speed manual or an automatic gearbox with 3 or 4 gears. Knowing this is a racing game where you're supposed to have, fun, which option do you think the developers chose? Well, let's find out. It's already automatic, so that's not a great start, but we got first gear, going up to second, alright, and up into third. Wow, that's a huge RPM drop, but let's keep going. Oh, wait, it only has 3 gears. A car from the 21st century with only 3 gears. Why? This is what truly makes this car awful to drive. Not only does it have that stupid automatic gearbox that's only 3 gears, but the way it's set up is more like 2 gears and 1 overdrive gear. So when tuning the gearbox, you have to decide between an abysmal top-end acceleration or a hilariously low top speed. But despite all of that, this small piece of trash has been the only car on the rank 1 leaderboards, and that's all thanks to those ludicrously high odds, because lucky for them, even the game recognizes how bad this car is. And the time that was set by Nexus is actually quite strong as a result, but I was determined to bump that stupid 3-speed automatic shitbox out of first place. Now, one of the interesting things of a rank 1 speedrun in Enthusia is that it doesn't start from the first race, but instead from the second one. This means that a part of the speedrun involves getting the best possible start, which involves ensuring you can get as many rating points early on. Now, in my first attempt, I did manage to find a very good first race, but the races after that weren't nearly as lucrative, which meant I had to do an additional race in the R4 League on my first attempt, putting me on the back foot early on. However, because this car is overall much faster, I was able to gain time by beating some faster cars and join a few events the EK can't. And that was when I found this. Oh my god. Ha! There's of course there's 4 GT in this one. This could be insane. I'm just trying this for the funsies, but I'm gonna probably lose heavily here. Perfect. That's herbs. Also, this is a very quick race. It's only 4 minutes, so... Like, 4 minutes for 1,500 points is, After a shockingly good third place, the next one was a straight-up win against a bunch of very strong cars, sending me straight into the top 6 and within arm's reach of rank 1. Now, getting to rank 1 requires around 11,000 rating points, and winning the next race, which was an R2 to save time, could possibly bring me just close enough and claim a world record in just a single attempt. So I did the race, won rather convincingly, and...
Nope.
No! Ah! That's so unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunately that wasn't enough, but if I did have enough points, it would have beaten the world record by a few minutes, giving me even more confidence that this was very much doable. But unfortunately for me, the next few runs were nearly as good, either due to getting races with bad odds, bad luck, or just a good old case of skill issues. Nice, okay. Ooh, no. That's bad, that is bad. Maybe a restart. Yeah, I'm not, because you can see now I'm basically at the same gap as last lap. Ah, brake too late. Yeah, okay, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm not even gonna bother, honestly. I did eventually manage to get a completed run, but that was more because I wanted something on the leaderboard, which was a disappointingly slow 53 minutes and 52 seconds. And sadly, my bad luck kind of continued after this, even having very silly moments like this where I got pushed so hard in the first race that my car started to violently spin out. I did manage to improve on something else around this time though. By finding better races after the first one, I was now able to get through R4 in one race. And after a few more attempts, I was not only able to get all the way to R1 with only one race per league, but I also managed to find a very lucrative but risky race against a Honda NSX. And despite all odds and the NSX's attempt to ruin this run, I managed to hold it back and win the race. I was very cautious for there, but for a good reason, because look how far I'm ahead. Oh my goodness. Moxvid. That is a 4,000 point race. This gave me a whopping 4,340 points. And with over 16 minutes left, I was all but guaranteed the world record if I just found 1 or 2 more good races. And even though I only got second place in the next one, I just needed one more R2 race to bring this one home. And when I finally completed said race with a rather absurd 20-second lead, it was time to see if I got enough points to break the record. Please be enough, please be enough, please be enough, please be enough, please, please, please! Yes! Fuck the EK! Fuck the EK, we did it! Yes! The EK has been toppled! And there it was. 43 minutes and 19 seconds. The stupid EK wagon was dethroned by a much better and much more fun to drive Honda Beat, and this was unquestionably a very satisfying sight. So now, in the span of just a few weeks, Azulia and I had managed to find some significant gains when it comes to speedrunning this obscure racing game, but from this point on, progression on the Enthusia speedrun slowed down a bit. Azulia did manage to improve his any % speedrun record to 1 hour and 11 minutes, but besides finding out that lighter cars somehow have more pushing power than heavy cars, thus giving the Honda Beat yet another advantage, we didn't really find new ways to improve, so all that was left for now was to just get better races. But around the same time, I got busy with work and Azulia decided to go back into the mines, the blue mines that is. Oh, and we also found out that setting your car to automatic makes skipping weeks easier due to a very silly menuing quirk, thus giving the Estima yet another little advantage. But at the end of my speedruns, I tried to get a call of action out there for others to start speedrunning this game as well. I am challenging you in the chat right now. Go ahead and speedrun this game and try to beat my time. And on the same day that I got my world record for rank 1, someone else decided to start speedrunning this game. A user called Nil posted a moderately quick time of 1 hour and 19 minutes. which he then improved by about 2 minutes a few days later. And then he posted this. 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 24 seconds. Thanks to some really strong odds, some good driving, and an incredible last-minute R33 Skyline price card drop, he got himself a run after what looks to be 34 attempts that was a whopping 5 minutes faster than what we managed to achieve so far. But that's not all, as a few days later, another person decided to dive into the world of Enthusia speedrunning, this time starting out on the rank 1 leaderboards. On the turn of the new month, Imasifi decided to follow in my footsteps of using the Honda Beat and posted a time within a minute of my world record, pushing the EK further down the list. And even though I didn't do any new runs around this time, we did start experimenting with something that surprisingly wasn't really done as much at this point: wall riding. Now, most of Enthusiast's tracks are actually street circuits, with the exception of Löwenzee-Ring, which is a track where the AI is usually weak anyway, Tsukuba Circuit, and the Nürburgring Nordschleife, with the latter having plenty of useful corner cuts to help you win the King of the Year race. And although hitting walls in Enthusia can be punishing, both to your entry points and to your speed, simply bouncing off it with a well-placed hit can save you quite a bit of time, especially in tight and narrow turns. This already allowed us to do some pretty funny things, like winning races with 5-digit ranking points.
Channel my inner Timo. Let's go. This is stupid. No. This is stupid. 10K. 10K. It's in the bag. 10,050 points. There you go. Lol.
And after a few weeks of grinding, Sifi managed to put this to full use in their speedruns. At this time, we often thought that any race in the highest RS league was unviable as they were often too long or too difficult to get any useful result from. But since it gives 2.5 times the base payout as an R1 race, they managed to get a whopping 6,000 points from a 3rd place finish at an RS race at Victoria Garden, a track that lends itself exceptionally well to a few wall bounces. And despite this race taking a whopping 11 laps, it still saved them enough time to secure 1st place on the rank 1 leaderboard. But just less than a day later, an even faster round was found with a different RS race. And thanks to, once again, some great driving and the route optimization taking some pretty sophisticated levels despite the RNG that this game throws at you, they managed to post the very first sub 40 minute rank 1 speedrun, coming in at 39 minutes and 48 seconds. But if you think that was the only new development at the time, we once again had another new challenger. A player called Reza Maulana98 decided to enter the fray and start with rank 1 speedrunning as well. But unlike what any of us had been doing so far, they decided to bring the ever-powerful Estema into what was essentially uncharted territory for this car. And although it may not be as effective here as it gets lower odds than the Beat, Reza managed to get a respectable 51-minute run on their first day of attempts, though admittedly they were still getting into the game a bit as shown by some of these later attempts. Around this time, however, I kind of stopped keeping track of the Enthusia speedruns because I was on a trip to the land of the rising sun. And for a few weeks, I would completely indulge myself in things like Japanese food, car culture, and gaming. What I did not expect, however, was that at the same time in Asia, as all active speedrunners except for Sifi are from Indonesia, Selamat Datang or something, the same people I just talked about would make a ton of progress on Enthusia any % speedruns. And when I returned, astaga naga, in the span of a few weeks, we were now 17 seconds away from beating Enthusia in under an hour. To give a bit of context on this, during the initial theory crafting with Azulia, we did play with the idea of how a sub 1 hour any % run could be possible, but when we initially did our runs, given our records at the time, it didn't really seem all that achievable. But now, all of a sudden, they were this close to make it a reality. And what's more, Reza managed to post a rank 1 speedrun of 43 minutes in the Estema, therefore placing a second car ahead of the EK in the leaderboards. Oh, and Reza also managed to somehow get their car stuck in the sand?
I'm stuck. Got stuck. Bro. What? It's a loss.
Going back to the topic at hand, the question now becomes, how on earth did they manage to get this close to a sub 1 hour speedrun? Well, some of that comes from how optimized these speedruns have become. They now had a good idea of things like which cars were beatable and which races were the fastest to complete. Additionally, Siffy also tried bringing the Honda Beat to an any percent playthrough and came up with a new strategy. Instead of completing the first race then skipping to around September, they opted to immediately retire from the first race, skip to September, and then do the first RN race. The additional points obtained from this race then made it significantly easier to get through R4 in a single race, pretty much guaranteeing you do the least amount of races early on. The second improvement comes from those RS races, the only events that appear on a set week on the calendar if you are ranked 50th or better. Every week has a specific RS race, and in the third week of November, the one that is available is the Sprinters Cup, a relatively quick 6-lap race around Victoria Garden. While the opponents are usually pretty tough, you may remember those wall-bound strats from before, and this is one of the best tracks to use them at, especially when you do the reverse layout. And even if you don't win, you can often get more rating points than most R1 races, effectively securing a top 6 placement for King of the Year. This race was already used by Azulia to get a time of 1 hour and 5 minutes, but Civi managed to beat that time by 2 more minutes thanks to the new way of starting the run. But there is one more thing that was needed to push this speedrun over the edge and break that mythical 1 hour barrier. Something to finally get some consistency in this RNG-ridden racing game, as despite all of this, your entire run was still fully dependent on whatever events and opponent lineups the game would give to you. So Nail set out to do what any speedrun with randomized elements eventually gets subjected to. Because whenever there are RNG elements in the game, you can almost always find ways to manipulate it. For those of you who watch speedruns from other games, RNG manipulation is almost certainly nothing new. But to give it a quick explanation, although games like Enthusia randomly generates races based on what car you drive, which is also why switching cars skips a week in this game, this pool of events and its opponents is not infinite. We already saw this previously for the rank 1 speedruns, as when I tried finding the optimal start, the best possible odds after the first race would only be confined by a few different options. Nail decided to see if this could also be used in practice and if this RNG manipulation could be extended beyond the first 2 races, and after a bit of digging, he managed to find the following strategy. By starting in the first week of August, he would get a 9.7 odds race on Marco Strada. After completing it, he skips to the 4th week of August to get a Rev City race with 13.3 odds. And although Nil mentions this isn't 100% consistent, it's still a common occurrence to either get this or a similarly high 12.7 odds. After winning this race and another one in September to get to R3, he then skips to the 2nd week of October, and although the consistency does get progressively worse at this point, it's yet another race with strong odds to allow you to one-shot R3. And since R2 and R1 often give plenty of events with strong odds anyway, this amount of RNG manipulation had the potential for some substantial improvements. This strategy first got him to a run of 1 hour, 1 minute and 35 seconds, but the very next day managed to get just 17 seconds away from that sub 1 hour run. This is also thanks to using an even faster RS race called the Night Winding Championship, a one-on-one race on a Toge pass, taking only 3 minutes as opposed to around 6 minutes for most races in R1 and RS. And to top it all off, he once again got an R33 Skyline at the last possible moment, which led to that speedrun time I just mentioned earlier. But despite all of these things happening while I was away, including that awesome run by Nil, a sub 1 hour run had yet to be achieved. So I returned from my holiday with a fair bit of jet lag, but energetic enough to start looking at the speedruns I had missed so I could work on this video. But then, Nil got this run. all of a sudden, Nil came into my Discord call to tell me it had finally been done. Enthusia Professional Racing had successfully been beaten in under 1 hour. This run essentially combined everything we knew until this point. Nil found yet another way to manipulate the event generation by simply entering the join race menu, then backing out and skipping a week. At the time of making this video, we found out that entering the join race menu a set amount of times, then backing out and skipping a week, gives a certain level of control over the event and opponent lineups that can appear in the next weeks. For example, immediately skipping a week gives this specific lineup for this RS race, but entering and leaving the join race menu a certain number of times before skipping to the next week provides me with a different lineup. And no matter how many times you reload the save, this method is 100% consistent if used for a single event like this. This improved method of RNG manipulation allowed them to get through every single league aside from RN, because again that one's hard-coded to be 2 races, in only a single race each, providing what is possibly one of the most optimized routes ever. The only way to further optimize from this is by getting even shorter races earlier on, and thanks to some great driving from Nil and simply some good luck as he got both an Evo 6 and a Subaru Impreza, as well as an easy King of the Year lineup, he became the first person to do something we honestly thought was not possible anymore. And somehow the story still does not end here, because we may have forgotten about Siffy at this point, but they too found a way to manipulate the event lineups. Still loyal to the Honda Beat, a strategy was devised in which you must skip to the unusually early second week of July, do the high odds race there, then skip all the way to the end of August. And this is where the strategy gets really sophisticated, as they found a near surefire way to make a high odds race show up in the second week of September. First, they check the race that's available in the last week of August. If it's above 8.5 odds, they would immediately skip to the second week of September, and if it's below, they enter and leave the join race menu in the first week of September as well. After this, all that's needed is a decently rewarding R3 race, and from that point on, just like Nil's run, it's all fair game with the remaining races. And honestly, looking at the thumbnail they had drawn up for this run as well as the description, I can fully understand they were really dumb with this game after pulling this off, becoming the second person to complete Enthusia in under an hour, despite not beating Nil's 58-minute time. But with that, we should pretty much be done with this, right? Of course not, because these guys are actually addicted to speedrunning this game, and after applying RNG manipulation to the any % speedrun, they turned their heads to the rank 1 category to break new grounds out here as well. And it would only take a few more days until Nil found a way to also perform RNG manipulation in the rank 1 speedrun, guaranteeing himself a strong R3 race that gives exactly enough points to get into R2 in a single race, something which was initially thought to be impossible with the Estima. And after yet another string of good events, he barely managed to miss out on a 35-minute run by only a few hundred points. So if he wanted to beat Siffy's world record, he had only 5 minutes left to win one more race and get those remaining points for rank 1. Would he be able to get another world record? There's only one way to find out. Less than 1 second. That's the difference between Nil and Siffy, and between the Estima and the Beat. After retiming, it was in fact only 0.4 of a second between their times. And with that, Neil now had a world record on both any percent and rank 1. Oh, and also on Driving Revolution, but that was more because he got bored and curious. Even after submitting the run, he really said it's not worth it. So at this point, we had really seen it all. From small tricks like skipping the race start animation and the tuning settings, all the way up to RNG manipulation. In only a few months' time, this game had seen a level of attention I had never seen before, and I can only just be grateful for all of their contributions to making the speedrun as good as it is now. And to cap it all off, of what I can only describe as an unbreakable level of determination, I'm Siffy decided to come back to Enthusia one more time a few days after Nil's world record rank 1 run, and all of a sudden, Siffy got these runs. This is what the world records at the time of making this video look like. First, Siffy managed to find a massive time save for the rank 1 speedrun, beating not only the odds but also the slowest M3 GTR in existence. Combine this with what I can only describe as ludicrous amounts of optimization that this category has seen so far, and you get a time of only 34 minutes and 42 seconds. More than 5 minutes faster than Nil when he had his ever so tight improvement. Oh, and to make this truly come full circle, they also managed to find that exact same race I had in one of my first rank 1 attempts, and also managed to get 3rd place. But of course, my life in trying to document all of this wasn't difficult enough, and as to why Siffy decided to go for the any percent speedrun again, I literally quote, "I was talking to Nil about how we were making your life difficult, and I honestly wanted to grind really hard for a day and quit if I didn't get a record. Honestly addicted and really needed to force myself to stop playing Enthusia after that day, XDD. First of all, why are you doing this to yourself? And second of all, why me? I swear to Anyway, after annihilating the rank 1 world record with the Honda Beat, they went back to the any percent category once more despite previously mentioning they were done with this game. And thanks to getting a selection of some of the fastest possible races and beating an R33 Skyline at Dragon Range and even winning that car to then use in the King of the Year race, they managed to truly leave their marks on this game's 2 main speedrun categories by claiming the world record on both in only a single day. And with that, I am finally done.
But I'm not done yet!
As I'm working on this video, we figured out that the Nissan Micra might be better than we thought, and Nil, after a few days of trying, managed to get a world record run in the rank 1 category.
Holy lap times as well. Oh no, this now we're gonna see, is this enough? Is this enough?
Hurry up!
Is it
tuning
enough?
menu.
Let's see.
Hurry!
Is it enough? Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh my god! There it is!
You got the achievement as well,
It's
right?
actually enough! That's enough by a minute! By a minute!
Anyway.
But I'm not done yet!
Then all of a sudden, Siffy decided to give it a try as well and managed to beat that time by another minute, pushing the world record for rank 1 down to only 32 minutes. And as if I didn't have enough content to work with already, Neil took the Micra to the any percent category and got a practically flawless run and pushed the world record down to a ridiculously fast 55 minutes. Okay, are you guys done now? Anyway, never would I have thought that just a simple theory crap with one of my longtime viewers would lead to all of this. But despite all of these developments, we are still far from done. From simple things like trying routes with cars we haven't properly tested yet to things like late game RNG deciphering, or perhaps even crazier things like trying to find the existence of ultra shortcuts. So we aren't even done yet, and besides hoping that you guys like this deep dive into speedrunning this 20-year-old racing game, subscribe if that's the case. I also hope that some of you may give it a try as well, as it should be clear that we all had a ton of fun in speedrunning it. And so, I would like to end this video by saying, you should start speedrunning Enthusia now! Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this kind of different video than what I normally make, and if you want to know even more about this game, Doze7 has made a video on even more facts and glitches that have been discovered or rediscovered in the past few months. And yeah, I'll try my best to work on the TXR Drift 2 video after this. It has been over 2 years since I did that run, and I must continue the plot after the Gran Turismo 5 run at some point, so stay tuned.
Helicopter, helicopter!